Good morning, Young Kings. Time for your more motivation this morning. Just got back in, ran a little late this morning. Ran just 6 miles this morning. Felt pretty good. Body's still feeling pretty good. A little sore because I've been to the gym a few times this week, so my muscles are starting to ache. But that means they're growing. So all pain is not bad pain. Sometimes there's the pain of progress, and that's what I kind of felt today. So it was a little slow getting started, slow down the pace and just got through it. So felt pretty good to be done. Didn't want to go too far. I thought, I did 10 miles Monday, um, just over 3 miles Wednesday, and then today, Friday, did 6 miles. So that's probably be my routine for a while, or switch it up. Which day I do a distance, kind of do a long distance, do a short distance, and then kind of a medium one, and switch it up as I continue to grow and strengthen my body. Because the objective is not to get back to the beginning of where I was when I was running, but to become better. So there's an element that needs to grow and develop. So I may flip flop. Some days I may go to the gym 3 days a week and only run 2 days a week to give my body some recovery time. So that's the key to shock the body, because once you start doing something regularly for a period of time, then your body becomes used to it. So before I get into really the morning motivation, I'm not sure if you watched the last video or if you've seen the logo that my brother got for me of a broken crown. Um, Shout out to my brother Brian for investing that into me. He's been following my journey and said he wanted to bless me with a logo on there. So I really appreciate that. Um, when I started this, it wasn't like I was going to create a logo or anything. I just wanted to document my journey, and I didn't know this journey was going to take me here. But I appreciate the love on there, because he himself is a young king. I know he's my older brother, um, but he's going through his own issues, and I'm not ignorant to the fact that I'm the only one going through something, and that's why I'm kind of sharing my story with you, because I know if you're not going through something, you will be going through something in the near future. So just to put it out there, my unadulterated thoughts and things behind there. So although my crown may look like it's cracked and broken, and we got some adjustments we're going to make on that. There's some corrections or some refinement that I sent back to the lab for him to consider when he come up with the final copy of it. But I wanted to put it out there on display that the crown is still wearable, although it may be cracked and it may be broken. It still has its royalty to it. And with that being said, I was just listening in the news, just heard in the news a few weeks ago that Biggie, and I'll scoot over to the side so you can see him. You see that crown on Biggie's head? Do you know that was a crown that was like a costume crown? I think the director said he paid like $6 or $7 for the crown, just as a one of the things to as a prop for one of the videos. Um, and Puffy didn't like the crown. He thought it was cheap. He thought like, hey, that's going to bring down your brand. You need something that's real and something that's high class. And it was just like a cheap crown that he had bought just at a costume jewelry store. So I say all that to say this: that crown just sold for 600 over $600,000. Um, a regular costume crown that was bought as just a stage prop for a video um, was just sold for over $600,000. So as I was running this morning, I started to realize like um, the value is not in the crown itself, um, but it's in the person who wears it. Like the person who wears it creates that value. Like had that director passed by and not picked up that crown, then there's no way that sells for $600,000. You know, 20 something years later. And I know the element of his death and something elevated the price of that, but it tells you that it's not how much. Let me just back over here. It's not the value of the crown, so to speak. It's more of who's wearing it and what value you're going to establish in that. And I say that to say this is like um, I'm going through a time in my life that's it's very difficult. Um, in the 25 years of marriage that I have before this, probably wasn't worth about $6, um, but it's still a crown. And it's my job to put that crown and create the worth from this point forward and create the value. And I know there's going to come a when you going for something or you're pursuing something, it's always going to come a point in time where you're going to have to ask yourself, is it worth it? And that's going to be a question that you and only you can answer. Is it worth it? And the reality of it is you determine the worth by who you are and what you do. Like, let's say that he wore that crown and Biggie was a flop. So yeah, I'm gonna give you that crown. That's a reminder. Let's say that he flopped. He wasn't a good rapper. He wasn't a wordsmith and stuff of that nature. Even though the crown was purchased and he put it on his head, if he was just some local guy that never made it, it wouldn't, or didn't make it, it wouldn't have its value in itself. The value came when he added what seemed to be little to his talent, which was great, and it took off from there. So when you're fighting for something and you ask yourself, is it worth it? Um, you got to ask yourself, and it's not an indictment on what it is you're pursuing. For me, I'm pursuing my wife, and then for some others, maybe pursuing success or career, and we'll come back to that success thing. Um, but when you ask yourself, is it worth it? Um, that's not an indictment on the thing being pursued. It's asking, it's an indictment on you. Do you have value to add to make it worth it? Like, are you able to take your talent, your resources, and add to what that little is and make it something great? Um, $600,000 is a lot of money for a $6 prop, but it was on the head of greatness. So take that, that nugget and really think about that. Are you adding value to the situation? Or are you subtracting for it? Because you talked about assets and liabilities, and for me, um, I think my wife is worth it. Um, and my crown may never sell for $600,000, but um, regardless of what it sells for, it's worthy of a pursuit. And this pursuit is a humbling pursuit. A lot of people think it's an ego pursuit you pursue, and I said, no, this is humbling to do this because there's opportunities for me to stumble during this process. Like, since this process begun or whatever, my best friend died. I was getting messages in my inbox like, hey, from females, and this is females that I haven't engaged with non-sexually or anything like that, just friends that I've met throughout the time, and they inbox me like, hey, if you need anything, hit me up, or if you just want to talk, and you reply, and then the reply was like, if you need anything, and I'm like, those are those innuendos that you can, the broker me would have took into that, like, hey, what does anything mean, and go into those innuendos and stuff of that in that nature. But this date, I find myself isolating myself and cutting myself off from all female contact. And I know that's probably an extreme, but in this season right now, where I'm at right now, I don't need that distraction right now, even if it is just a casual friendship. I don't need it because it'll be a distraction to me, and I don't want to be distracted. Like, when I come out of this process, I want to know that I gave it my all to try to do this. And I'll be honest, sometimes I get lonely. I just want to talk on the phone, and that sounds feminine in itself, but I enjoy conversations. So at times, I just have to go through this and just really bear witness to what I want. So with that being said, that was a long intro, 10 minutes, and I'm not going to be on too long because I do got a busy day at work. Got a few things, awards to hand out for some students that's graduating today. But, and I just lost my train of thought, what I was about to say. Oh, here it is. The new series we're going to go to, I said I was going to meditate on it some. Um, and I came up with this one. And it's going to call Space Jam. Kind of a play on words for, the movie with Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny, Space Jam, and kind of analogy of where I am at in this relationship with my wife. She wants space, and it's putting me in a jam to give her that space because I be feeling like um, I don't want to give her space, and room for other people to slide in and do and present themselves as a viable option. So it's kind of put me in a jam. But yesterday was a difficult day, and I've went days without talking to her. But yesterday felt long. Like I wanted to engage. I wanted to let her know that I was still thinking about her and stuff of that nature. And it was like I found myself like wondering, is this really over? Like she says it's over, and the day went by pretty slow, but I got through it. And as I was thinking today, I was like, man, today, um, hopefully it's a little easier to get through. Maybe I don't think about her as much. But then I caught myself. I said, it's about perspective. Like, instead of saying you don't want to think about her, when you think about her, pray about her. Pray for her that, God reminding you that you still love this woman and not to give up. So, from a perspective of saying, I miss her and I don't want to miss her and don't want to think about her, change that perspective to saying, hey, thank you, Lord, for reminding me how much she means to me. So, a lot of things can happen with the perspective. So, I realized during this Space Jam, um, I have to remove the physical part of it. So, there's no me physically going over there and seeing. I have to remove that. But one thing I have to increase is the spiritual, is being like intentional about praying for her and making sure um, that I keep her in my mind, and not because I don't want to lose it until it's lost. Um, and once it's lost, then obviously I will move forward and move on. But as of right now, I haven't been served any papers, so right now I still got a war in the spirit, and pray for it. So share a story with you. Well, only story, just more of a confession. Like this distance that I've been running, 7 miles and 6 miles or 4 miles, and the reason that I've been running that far is that, uh, and it sounds embarrassing, almost like stalker stuff. Like I actually do run out my way to run by the house that they stay at, and when I'm running by it, I just pray for the house. I pray for her, stick my hand out as I'm running by, and just pray for her healing. Her to be able to recover from the hurt. Then also pray that God heals my heart because I've been hurt, and that He would allow us to grow and mature in our love. So um, that's what I realized more and more when I started running by there. It's like, hey, um, just pray, and that's where I'm at now. It's just trying to make sure that my mind is set on things above, because it's battles in that minds, and I feel like God is telling me to get out the way, because hurt people, and when we hurt people come together, although we don't intend to hurt each other, a lot of the brokenness have rough edges, and then when we rub against each other, we end up scratching and scarring each other. So until we can get to a point where we can, dull those edges and have a productive gathering, then obviously God needs me out of the way because I'm capable of messing up the simplest tasks, and I think the Lord knows that. So in this season right now, I just have to pray. And the reality of it is, if God can't do it, then I know Drew and Andrew can't do it. I know for sure that it can't be done. So it's just a matter of me trusting God, and if it doesn't get done, that's still not an indictment on God. That may be God saying, no, this is not. But when I was praying, I asked God not to remove my good thing or my favor, because it talks about he who finds a wife finds a good thing and attains favor from the Lord. And I'm asking God to remove a lot of other things: pride, arrogance, anger, and I want all that other stuff removed, but don't take my good thing away. Um, Allow me to shape and mold into something that's you desire, that we be a good steward of the good thing. So um, a lot of rambling going on right there. I'm not sure what you will get from that, but I'm just wanting to document my thoughts as they come. And I want to go into the success thing that I said I would come back to. I'm going through this book called Ego is My Enemy by Ryan Holiday. And man, it's a good book, but it's humbling at the same time because I see elements of where I strayed at, and it talks about how initially your pursuit for something is great, and when someone like me um, started from humble beginnings, I told you I failed the second grade, I barely graduated high school, I wasn't projected to be much in life, wasn't a good student, so I was told college wasn't for me, and then finally got the discipline enough to go get a bachelor's degree and master's degree, and then um, went through the elements of flight school, and I realized like I didn't have a plan for once I became successful. I wanted to be successful, but I didn't have a plan. I wasn't ready for the success in itself. So my answer to being prepared for success was just go get more. And it's like I always was pursuing. But now I'm at a state where God is telling me, like, hey, now it's time for your character to match your professional level. Like, it's time for your relationship that's down here and your career is up here. It's time for you to be balanced out and not be overzealous in one pursuit and then lacking in the rest of it. So there's an element of that that has to happen. So I know a lot of you got big dreams and big goals, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like what I went through this 25 years, I think it was essential. That grind that I had to get to where I am, I think it was necessary. But I think there's an element of a transition that says that doesn't work. What got me to this point, it's not going to work to take me on to where I'm going. So there's an element of growth that I have to do right now. So not only plan for success, but plan for when you get it. How do you be a good steward of it? And this is where that book is. It's been so powerful and it's been humbling because it's like ego is the enemy. It says you can start getting to a point where you're on this pursuit, and then you start thinking you deserve things, or um, people should be worshiping you. Like, do they know who I am? Do they know this and that? And I realized, like, over the last few years, my ego, I did get big. I did say that I had overcame a lot to get to where I was. Instead of me being humble about it, I was pretty arrogant about it. Like, I um, thought it was He-Man, so to speak, just one that had superhuman strength, and I thought that people should recognize that. And I realize now it's like that is an arrogant attitude. Like, it's not me who got here in the first place. It was God's ability in me that got me here. But during this process, you can start getting into selfish living, and you want people um, to look up to you, and there's an element of that I have to go back and revisit, like the motivation. Like, really, I want to be a general, but why do I want to be a general? Because I want to tell the story of everybody how I made it and overcame from failing in second grade, and this and that. And I'm not saying that I'm going to stop pursuing the goal, but I just got to refocus my energies to make sure that um, what that goal cost me, evaluate if it's worth it. And right now, I do have success. I do have the career, the position at work. I do have the house. I do have the cars. I mean, I do have abundantly enough. Um, but what I don't have is my wife. And I'm thinking that cost me too much, you know. Um, now, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't want to be broke and homeless going through this process either. So I'm not saying like, hey, you know, humble is the way through lack. No, I'm not trying to say that either. But I think there is a balance between that. It's like, don't get so high that you think it's all about you, but then you shouldn't be so low where you need somebody to take care of you either. I mean, there's that balance of being independent as well. So I do thank God that He didn't crush me in some of my ignorance, that I was able to still, you know, progress in my mess. But now he's got me in a state where He's saying, I need to get some things straight in you, and it's humbling because I wish I could have learned this lesson without it costing me my relationship. Like, but the reality of it is, it's like any time before this, I wasn't ready because I was still uh, into like I'm still advancing, I'm still growing. I mean, professionally, it's like I'm and then educationally, it's like my goals are being accomplished. So I'm doing something right. So obviously, it's about me, and I got progress. So I got the right recipe. But so it took an event like this for me to even get to a point where I can recognize, like, oh, all right, I see. You can get all that stuff and still be missing the thing that you value the most. But when you had it, you didn't value it the most. So, but so it's humbling from that perspective um, that I really didn't have a plan. And for someone like me who plans for everything and who's very analytical and look at things, um, I didn't see this coming. I didn't. I thought like, hey, you know, you leave, it's over. You know, I'll find another. And I realized like that mindset is a destructive one, and it's a false one. Um, I don't find another. You don't find another first love that you walking by in high school and y'all catch eye to eye and you just recognize there's something there. I can't find another one of those. Um, that's irreplaceable. But my arrogance with success had told me like, hey, there's plenty of women out there that will love you, and they will. I mean, but the reality of it is, I don't want them because I'm in love with someone else, and until I either restore this or it becomes completely severed, I don't need to be with anybody else. You know, so this will be a long journey during this Space Jam. I think what I'm going to do is watch the movie this weekend because even in the movie, and this is going on my old school recollection, remembrance of the movie. It's like in Space Jam, it was Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny, um, and Michael Jordan is great in his world, but he has to be recruited into this animated world to war and potentially save the world. So they're battling on the basketball court and doing all these things and fighting against the opponents. So that is kind of like where I'm at in my life too. It's like, hey, yeah, you've been great at work, but now you got to come into this animated world, and I got to fight against people that's in my wife's inbox and promising her doing this stuff to save my world because she is my world. So, and I know that's a lot of people. Hey, Drew, you could be whole by yourself. Um, you don't need her to be whole, and I recognize that. This is not a matter of needing. Like we both will be okay um, if this marriage was to end. We're not gonna, wither up and die. Uh, but I think we'll be great together. So it's not a matter of me saying she's my world. Like I'm gonna fall apart if she leaves. Will I be hurt? Hell yeah, I'm gonna be hurt. But at the same time, um, wounds do heal. But our wound to heal, I want it to be us together in a more healthier state. So there's a lot of things, as I mentioned before, that I'm going to give up before I give up chasing. I'm going to give up anger. I'm going to give up the lust. I'm going to be disciplined in my speech to make sure that I don't stray and get into non-productive conversations with women, because those are all temptations that are so easily to dive into right now. So, uh, with that being stated, I do need to get ready for work. So, remember, young kings, the value is not in the crown itself, but it's the values in the head that it sits on. So I ask you to really put something in your head to create that value, and then you take what is great and you add it to what is little, and I mean you'll have something magnificent. So I'm looking forward to the day that I can tell you I'm on the other side. Just like with that injury, I didn't think it was going to be possible. I'm back running again. In my marriage, I'm manifested that I'll be back running again, and I'll have a greater appreciation for it because of what we've been through. So, with that being stated, go create your value, but make sure your value doesn't elevate your ego to a point that you can't see the significance of your journey. It's more than you. It's more than me. So let's grow together. Be great, young kings.